So very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Africa Today, our program bringing you all the latest news and events happening inside the Black Continent. My name is Andrew Maher and we begin straight away with a look at some of the news making the headlines. The Tunisian presidential campaign kicked off on Monday with 26 candidates from across the political spectrum competing to become the country's third president since the 2011 revolution. The campaign will run until 13 of September, 2 days before the elections, with nearly 7 million registered voters invited to participate in the vote. We have more details in this report.
Tunisian presidential candidates began campaigning on Monday for the September 15th election against a backdrop of economic troubles. Among the 24 men and 2 women running for election are the Prime Minister, a media magnate, and a candidate from the moderate Islamist party. The presidential election was called early because of the death in July of President Beji Said Essebsi. The president controls foreign and defense policy, governing alongside the Prime Minister chosen by Parliament, who has authority over domestic affairs. Whoever ends up leading the country will face the challenge of a faltering economy and a continued efforts to plug a large state deficit and public debt. Unemployment has risen from 12% before the uprising to 15.2% now, rising to 30% in some cities. Several candidates began their campaigns on the stroke of midnight when the election season officially began, with the Shahid meeting hundreds of supporters in the capital's impoverished district. Other prominent candidates include former President Monsef Marzouki, former Prime Minister Mahdi Juma, and Defense Minister Abdelkarim Zebidi.
And continuing with our news, the United Nations chief on Monday called on the international community to support the Democratic Republic of Congo to strengthen their institutions and develop the country sustainably and effectively respond to the humanitarian problems. We have more details in this story.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has promised to strengthen the operational capacity of the peacekeeping force in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Weather attacks on health workers and Ebola facilities have undermined efforts to stop the spread of the virus. In a meeting with Congolese President on Monday, Guterres acknowledged that the security situation in eastern Dr. Congo was far from resolved and said it could worsen without the UN peacekeepers. Last year, former President Joseph Kabila called for the peacekeepers to leave, arguing that the mission had failed to restore peace. Mr. Guterres said that the long-term aim was to ensure the peacekeepers deployed almost 2 decades ago were no longer necessary, but he gave his assurance that the UN would not abandon the Congolese people. Some 16,000 peacekeepers are deployed in the country, making it one of the largest UN missions in the world. Rebels often mangle the population before attacking Ebola treatment centers and clinics. The insecurity is undermining the efforts to tackle the Ebola virus.
And for our final news item, the 12th edition of the African Games held in Morocco was concluded on Saturday, with Egypt topping the medal table with 273 medals, 102 gold, 98 silver and 73 bronze. We have more details in this report and we'll be right back for a further in-depth discussion. Stay tuned.
The team of the weightlifting and athletes team returned to Cairo from Morocco after the end of the participation in the African Games held from 19 to 31st of August. The Egyptian delegation have achieved a huge success during the 2019 African Games held in Rabat, Morocco between 19 and 31st of August 2019. The Egyptian players brought home 254 medals, including 93 gold medals and 94 silver medals and 67 bronze medals. The Egyptian delegation broke the previous record of 2015 when Egypt achieved 270 medals, including 85 gold and 63 silver and 69 bronze medals. Egyptian weightlifter Ragab Abdelhai achieved the gold medal in U102 kilograms category, where the Egyptian men's and women's team added another 2 gold medals to the medal board. The Egyptian players shined during the tournament's competition, and they were in advance over their counterparts from other African countries. The Nigerian delegation comes second at the medals board, having achieved 170 medals, including 44 gold gold medals, 29 silver medals and 44 bronze. On the other hand, South Africa achieved 87 medals, including 36 gold medals, 26 silver medals and 25 bronze medals.
Of course, congratulations to the Egyptian teams and the Egyptian athletes that took part, and of course a very, very honorable achievement for all the Egyptians. And I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon over the telephone by my guest, Mr. Samah Fawaz, the sports critic. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Samah.
Good afternoon. How is it going?
Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
It's a pleasure for me to join you tonight.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, the Egyptian champs are back home after topping the list of medals in the recently concluded African Games in Morocco. How do you see the Egyptian athletes' achievement in the African Games?
Sure, we've made a very big achievement because this could be a wonderful thing for us because we are breaking our records. Because as you know, as all the people know, that in the round of 2015 that held in Congo, we've obtained 217 medals. This round, we've obtained 229 medals. So we made a very good record. We made a very good achievement to break our old record. So this is a very wonderful. We've made 79 medal gold and 87 silver medal and 59 bronze medal. So this could be a very good achievement. And with the blessing of the President of the Republic, Mr. Fattah al-Sisi and Mr. Ashraf Sobhi, this is very good support. They made a very good support for all the players in each sport.
Indeed. Sir, let me ask you, how important is this achievement, especially in the wake of calls for the country to increase their support for Egyptian athletes and not just focus on the usual soccer, which is the main supported sport in Egypt?
Excuse me, I didn't get you right because
I'm asking you, sir, the importance of this achievement in supporting all Egyptian athletes in different kinds of sports, not just the usual soccer, which is the main supported sport.
This is the vision of Mr. Ashraf Sobhi now. As you see, he always supports all the sports, not only the football.
Yes.
He's always supporting the volleyball, as we made for the under 19 years old team of volleyball. They achieved the fourth in the Mondial that held in Tunisia on from 20 to 31, and we achieved the fourth place around the world. So this could be clearly for all the people that the Mr. Ashraf Sobhi is concentrating on all the sports, not only the football or soccer only. This is very good and very good sign for all Africa that the Egyptian sports, men or women, they are getting to the top from time to time, step by step.
Indeed. Mr. Samah, I wanted to ask you, what kind of support do you think other sports need in order for them to be able to compete in other big competitions, for example, the Olympic Games?
Okay, I think number one is the support, with spirit support. We have to tell the people all around Egypt that we have other sports like the wrestling, like too many sports, and that's very good for the player to see that the people know them. They don't know only the football player. No, they know like Samar Hamza in the women wrestling. They know like Captain Hassan Al-Husari in volleyball, the manager of the under 19 team, Egyptian team volleyball. They know all the people. Just this first thing to make them population, to give them the good support through the spirit. This is number one. Number two, to give them the atmosphere of good training, to train well, to give them all they need, like places to train, like give them like what we say, the economical, no problem, no
financial support, yes.
That's it. And the Ministry of Sport, it's always making this with the sportsmen.
Let's talk a bit, Mr. Samah, about the role of the media in shedding light on these athletes and bringing them into the light for people to know and learn of the capacity and capabilities of the Egyptian sportsmen and women taking part in the games.
Okay, so the media has a very good and very huge member in this, because, as you know, we have to take them to the light. We have to make always reportage. We have to make always conversation. We have to get them in the programs. We have to take them to the light, not only in the stadiums or after the event. Just take 2 or 3 or 5 days of news. No, we have to make it continuously to make them. Always on the media, all the media, not only the written media. It's on the television, on the radio. All the media have to give them to the light. Always be in the programs, talk shows, make reportage with them like this.
Right, Mr. Samah, what were some of the main sports that stood out for you in the African Games that were held in Morocco? Which sports activities, which kind of sports stood out for you in the African Games that were held in Morocco? Was it swimming, weightlifting, judo? What stood out the most for you, sir?
For me, I think all the sports, because all of them play with the name of Egypt. So this is the most important. And for me, as a journalist or a sport critical, they are all the same. But if we really would like to know what the good success have been made, it's in the heavyweight, in the wrestling, and in the volleyball.
In the volleyball, right. Tell me, what are some of the challenges that you think face some of these sports that can be worked upon for them to improve and to reach better competition results in the future?
What kind of what?
Challenges. Do you think?
So this is normal. This is normally for all the teams, that they have always to make matches against another people, international players, international teams, to improve their level from 50% to 70% to 100%, to be able to join the Olympics and make sure I will have a medal for Egypt. That's they have to do.
And Mr. Samah, do you see the role that the private sector can play and businessmen can play in supporting these athletes?
Sure. The business always have a very good role, because always the business give the money for the player to make much things. Like, if I don't give him money to train well, if he has any show or any invitation from any other countries to be part of their country and live and play for them, not playing for Egypt, this could be easy, because he see that I don't have any kind of support from my country. So I will play for other country. I will take the population of their country. But here in Egypt, we see that the Bank Al Ahli and too much places that support them. Yes.
And Mr. Samah, one final question, if I may. How do you see these athletes playing a role model for Egyptian youth, for Egyptian youngsters, and for future upcoming athletes?
Excuse me, could you say the question again?
Yes, how do you see these athletes as a role model for upcoming Egyptian youth and athletes? How are they a role model for them?
All the people see them as a role model, because they see what we can make with this, what we can achieve with what happened here. So this could be a wonderful for them, because this helps them to success more and more achievement. This help for achieving more success, more medals, more tournaments, and make sure that not only the country will have it, the country and the business, they support each other. That's it.
Right, Mr. Samah Fawaz, the sports critic, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned. We will be right back after a short break to continue our edition of Africa Today. Stay tuned.